Hey guys, Crypto Sunday, and this seems to be how crypto is going these days. Big drop last week, and then completely flat this week. Everything's just sort of waiting on more news, I guess. But we had sort of a big liquidation last week, sort of leverage getting thrown out, and now sort of things have gone quiet again, despite a huge amount of options sort of closing on Friday, I believe. So. Yeah, interesting. But we'll have a look at the news. Quite a lot of news this week. So it looks like some whales may have been buying the dip. We've had 30,000 Bitcoin removed from exchanges into cold wallets in the last week. I sort of wonder if part of this is just sort of fear of Binance and sort of, that fear sort of spreading out to various exchanges. Binance had 11,500 drop in reserves, but there's been sort of a bit of fear over Binance, and Coinbase, Bitfinex, and Gemini had sort of 4, 2, and 6,000 reduction. OKX has actually increased, but yeah, I do sort of wonder. It's very easy to sort of transfer them back and forth these days. Moving it to cold storage doesn't sort of mean that it's gone for years and years. It could be, back on there in the next week, but they'll take it as a positive sign, I guess. So see if it's a trend. This, I suppose, you would see as sort of firmly more positive. European exchange traded products sort of getting inflows. This sort of, from reading it, it's inflows since the BlackRock announcement. There was quite a lot of outflows sort of leading up to that announcement, and these inflows have sort of largely cancelled that out, which I guess we're a net zero, but it was money coming out of crypto before the BlackRock announcement. So yeah, good to see that's sort of now going back in. We're sort of the Europeans are probably a little bit ahead of the US at least, but certainly sort of a little behind some other countries that do have proper spot ETFs. The sort of Europeans have exchange traded products and sort of notes and that sort of thing, but it's not exactly as some people would want it. I think you're unable still to buy it in some funds. I'm not allowed to have it in my ISA anymore because it's considered a derivative. So yeah, that's a shame. Even though I've sort of mentioned the gold, from what I could see, ETFs would be exactly the same. You can't redeem it. You don't hold real gold. You hold a share in a vault of gold. So I really can't see what the difference is. But yeah, good to see money going into these Europe products. So you've got what must be 27th different company trying to launch a spot ETF. This is sort of making the news with Hashdex, mainly because they're not going in for the Coinbase surveillance sharing agreement. They're saying that they won't be using exchanges from the looks of it. They will be buying spot Bitcoin directly from the CME, Chicago Mercantile Exchange. So yeah, I guess whether the SEC will sort of see that as more regulated Bitcoin, I guess. But yeah, whether they would still want a sort of surveillance type agreement, not sure. Using the CME Markets Exchange for physical transactions. So it looks like they're trading futures and spot within the fund. So yeah, interesting to sort of see whether that goes ahead, if that sort of gets the green light and BlackRock and everyone else are sort of behind, then that'd be a huge coup for them. So I've got a couple of bits of Solana news. The Euro stablecoin, Euro E, is expanding to Solana. This sort of, the headline would suggest that this is sort of the launch of it, but no, it's been on Ethereum and sort of Avalanche and Arbitrum from the looks of it, and Polygon, so the sort of Ethereum ecosystem. But it's now coming to Solana, which is quite good. They're also saying, sort of with this launch, that the whole thing's going to be MiCA compliant. So the regulations that go into effect next year, I think it's middle of next year. And yeah, they're saying it will be sort of compliant with that. So whether this can sort of grow to a USDC equivalent, maybe not sort of Tether. USDC is the sort of more regulated stablecoin, but yeah, could be good. See what the Euro lot have got to bring, sort of to compete with the US. They're obviously saying it'll be backed 1-to-1, be backed by a combination of bankruptcy protected cash and CET1 equity capital. So whether they're going to be buying sort of, German government bonds and sort of loans from the ECB and that sort of thing, don't know. But maybe not going to be quite as sort of high income as the US because the ECB are still on sort of low interest rates. But yeah, be interesting to sort of see where they put the money and sort of if this will be positive in the same way that the USDC and USDT are sort of for bonds, I guess. Tether have got sort of $70 billion in bonds, so someone's buying them at least. And then a little more sort of specific Solana news. Shopify have enabled USDC payments using Solana Pay. So USDC actually do say Solana is the official blockchain of their token, which is interesting, even though Ethereum is sort of the majority traded token. They do say Solana is the official one, and they've, well, I presume this has come more from Solana's end than USDC's end, but yeah, you can now sort of pay for things on Shopify. They haven't introduced paying with Sol yet, and they say they are sort of looking to do that in the future, and potentially bonk the sort of meme coin, which I think is probably a negative move. That's sort of something that could maybe come much, much later once the sort of integration is, fully involved. But yeah, they say they're looking to do that. Yeah, average transaction cost at $0.00025. So very, very low and sort of a lot better than credit cards and debit cards. Certainly better for Shopify because they haven't got to pay Visa and MasterCard. So yeah, have to see if this gets any traction. So this was sort of seen as something that Solana had over the competition in their phone, and you've now had the Ethereum phone sell out. So this is a very, very limited launch. I think it said there were 50 phones. So they're sort of saying they've sold out, but they've sold out 50. The Saga phone, unfortunately, has only sold 2,121. Anatoly was sort of saying if they sold 10,000, he would see that as a success, and a lot of people sort of said only 10,000, that's not a lot. But he's saying they would be sort of crypto, heavy crypto users if they're looking to spend $1,000 on a sort of crypto specific phone. But they've only sold 2,120. I guess it's still rough times. Maybe when people are sort of making a little bit more money, they could take $1,000 of profit and buy a phone. So we'll have to see sort of if sales pick up. But yeah, you have now got an Ethereum competitor, ETH.OS. Supports EVM chains and layer 2s and that sort of thing, so you can sort of do cheap transactions on Optimism and Polygon and all that sort of thing. And yeah, as part of whether they sort of saw this coming or it's just sort of for the poor sales, Solana have dropped the price of their phone 40% to $599. And yeah, people are sort of very unhappy about that if they paid $1,000. But from what I read, people got an NFT sort of worth quite a bit of money if they bought the phone. So really, you're probably net about the same if you buy one now for 599. So yeah, I think people are sort of very quick to forget what they maybe got out of it by buying it at launch. But there you go. And this was a little funny story. OnlyFans has made an absolute fortune recently, and yeah, this sort of industry is the sort of first quite often to adopt new technology, and they've invested some of their profits into Ethereum, sort of not wanting to just hold cash on the balance sheet, I guess. They've seen that as a sort of something reasonable to invest in, aside from the owner just paying himself an enormous dividend, $485 million dividend. So there you go. But yeah, that was. It doesn't say how much they've invested into Ethereum. Could be sort of 1% just to make the headlines and sort of show them as a modern company. But yeah, however much it is, I guess is reasonable. Oh yeah, let me get away from the barrage of ads that you get on the Evening Standard. So looking at the coins for the week, obviously not a huge amount has moved because it's a flat week, but we've had Bitcoin up 1%, Ethereum up 0.2%. So that has sort of equaled out some of the losses elsewhere. Solana actually down 5%. That's the worst performer for the week. Chainlink down 1.17%. Cardano down 0.3%. XRP up 1.2%. Quant actually done the best for the week, 5.6% up. Audius down 4.7%. Power Ledger up 4.5%. Matic down 3%. Gala down 4.3%. Basic Tension token flat. Internet Computer up 2.1%. And VeChain flat as well. So not a huge amount of movement. We're sort of waiting on more news. Got the BlackRock ETF news, I believe, possibly the end of next week, maybe the following week. I need to double check the dates, but yeah, that could be in sort of next week's news update. Although most likely just getting delayed while they sort of deliberate and maybe even push it into next year. But that seems unnecessary. So yeah, leave your thoughts in comments below if you're buying anything during the quiet period, and like and subscribe. See you soon.